Hello, welcome to episode 2 of the Heaven Word podcast. Today we are going to be talking we are going to be talking about emotions, which I guess that applies too. We're talking to our emotions as well. So we're just going to roll with that. So now mastering emotions is obviously not something that's one and done. It is a practice and it takes time. It is a skill. And even myself, I am not all the way there. But I consistently make sure that I practice not absorbing as somebody who is on the more empathic side. So for those of you listening, if you resonate with the term empath or somebody who easily absorbs outside energies and quote unquote emotions, because emotions are indeed energy, then this is going to be a great episode for you to tune into. So as I discussed in the first episode, my goal is to bring together the spiritual, which is in this case, the energy body or the chakras, the aura, and all that has to do with the physical body and how these suppressed energies manifest themselves as emotions, as well as ailments, disease, illness, all that stuff. So we're going to be diving into a lot here, as well as protecting ourselves from outside energies and being able to feel more stable within our own energy, as well as working through our own emotions. So first things first, like I just mentioned, emotions are indeed energy. And they are held in different places in the body. So they literally have charts online that you can see where and how it looks for each emotion in your body. It's like a radiomagnetic photo of what each emotion looks like in the body and where it's stored, which then reflects the different energy centers, which we will dive into then too. So I've actually been in active therapy, psychotherapy for the past year. And I actually went back for this particular reason. For the most part, I was having a lot of obsessive thoughts and negative thoughts and not able to control my emotions coming along with them. So one of the practices that I'm going to be touching on in this episode is something that my therapist actually taught me to do. He's amazing. And so I want to give him that credit. But we will dive into that as well in a second. First, I want to go over where the different emotions show up in the body. So like, for example, happiness stored throughout the whole body. You can feel happiness in the whole body. Love, for instance, you may not feel a lot in the legs. So that's really interesting. So I'm actually reading off of this webpage I found. So it is called calmsage.com. And this is where I actually found the image as well that my therapist showed me of like what emotions look like in the body from the radiomagnetic images. So if you do want to look that up yourself, this page, I read it through. I really like how it explains where the emotions tend to be stored as well and how they affect the body. So I love this. So calm, calmsage.com. Anxiety tends to come up above the pelvis, excluding the arms, and you feel more reactive and you feel a lower reaction in the arms, legs, and feet. Very interesting. Let me get one more here. Sadness is one I was looking at. Sadness is registered in the lower body. So when you feel sad, you can experience a lower reaction in your legs, feet, and arms, and a slight sensation in your chest and head. And in the image that it shows, it literally shows this energy in the legs. It's so interesting. So now that we covered that emotions are indeed energy and they show up in the body in different ways, we're going to talk about repressed emotions and how this then goes into your energy centers and your chakras. So for those of you that don't know, I am an energy healer. I am what we would call a spiritual surgeon. I'm able to visualize and work with the higher ups, angels, God, in order to be a medium for you to receive healing in your energy centers. So when I do these healings, I'm able to see your chakras and I'm able to see what they look like, what I'm able to write down and channel what is going on in there for the most part, and release it, help to untie the knot, we'll say. So this is more my speed. I am also in school for social work, so I am learning about like the actual physical body and how things affect that as well. So my main expertise is in the spiritual currently, but I'm learning more about the physical. So when it comes to repressed emotions stored in the chakras, this indeed can cause physical symptoms, ailments, and even disease. So long-term repressed emotions can even cause cancer. It is that much of a necessity to really work on every aspect of self. So all aspects of self, like we were talking about, is kind of like the Holy Trinity, the mind, body, spirit. We need to work on all of them. Okay, so therapy is great, but not without also a spiritual connection, not also without, making sure you're doing what you have control over, which is controlling your thoughts or just having practices in place for yourself to monitor your thoughts and self-awareness. So with these repressed emotions stored in the chakras, I actually have a story of how I experienced this in my own life. I was 24, 25 around there. And this is the year, if you watch the first podcast, you know that I proceeded with an abortion in my 5-year relationship at that time. So after that period, I was dealing with a lot of shame. I also have sexual trauma from my childhood. So this all had been stored in my womb area, which we call the sacral chakra. Now, this is right above or right below your belly button. And I actually was experiencing extreme bacterial infections, and they just would not go away. I went to the gyno probably 4 times, and I could not, it would not go away. I also thought that I had a few different things. I thought that I had a UTI. I thought I had yeast infections. And I even ended up in the hospital because of the medications given to me that I had a bad reaction to, because they thought they were just trying different things to see what would work. And nothing was working. Nothing was working until I went to my mentor that I talked about in the first episode as well. And she recommended that I get, a healing or a cleansing. So I was like, okay. So she did a cleansing on me, and everything that came out that she communicated to me, she said it was very, very deep-rooted trauma and repressed emotions of disgust and shame in that chakra. And when I tell you, after really sitting with it and releasing that and praying to God and, coming to terms with those feelings about myself that were deep rooted so much that I wasn't even really aware of them. They just were a part of me. My BV went away permanently. So it just goes to show, that's when I really was like, wow, this stuff is really real. Because you can do so much with the physical, but if you're not working on your emotional body and your energy body and it's like, it's pointless. Like, you really need to work with all of them. So this is kind of what, everything's connected. We'll say that. Everything's connected. Your emotions are connected to a lot of things here. So the reasons that, emotions get repressed is usually based on survival. So it's not like we're choosing to repress our emotions. We are repressing them because we feel like we have to. I grew up in a home where I was not allowed to have feelings. Anytime I communicated my feelings, it was like I was being disrespectful. And so I learned to repress. And it became just a practice of mine that I was, I came off as very quiet, like I was always good. I was a strong friend and whatnot. But really, behind closed doors is the only place that I could really feel. I wasn't allowed to feel in front of people. That's what I perceived based on my experience. And due to that, I repressed so much stuff that until I actually got to an age where I was out of, all situations of being around people who kept reflecting that I was not allowed to have my own feelings. I was not allowed to not be okay, and I had to be strong for everybody else. Until I got out of that space is when I actually was able to deal with my repressed emotions and really heal. And to think that there are so many people, especially a lot of our parents who are older, the generations before us, like they go their whole lives without really working through their emotions and experiences and really healing. And it's crazy to even think about that people don't even heal from certain things that happened 50, 70 years ago. Like my grandmother is 94 years old and still talks about traumatic experiences she had at the age of like 12 and 13 that she still is not over. So it's like, how do you truly move forward? It's like you always live in the past because the emotions attached to the memories continue to come up for us when we do not dive deeply into them or allow them to work themselves out when they present themselves, because we automatically repress them because we feel like we have to, or because we don't want to deal with it. We feel like it's too much. We don't feel like we're allowed to feel. A lot of us have been raised to feel like we are not allowed to feel emotions that are, sadness, anger, resentment, frustration. We were taught to repress because it is uncomfortable for others around us when we are not okay. So it's like, shake it off. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Why do you feel that way? I should feel that way. All these types of things. And it's like, no, you are supposed to feel your emotions. It is the human experience. We are meant to feel our emotions. So if you take nothing else from this episode, know that you have permission to feel authentically exactly how you feel, and you're allowed to have these emotions. And even if you don't understand them, even if they feel terrible to you, even if they bring up a lot for you, it doesn't matter. You are meant to feel them, and that is a part of this experience. Now, how to unblock your chakras. So if symptoms of like blockage in the chakras, or just like they just need to be cleansed. Symptoms would be, ailments or pains in certain areas of the body. Could be racing thoughts or being stuck kind of like in a loop or a cycle that you are noticing you're not able to kind of like get yourself out of. Is kind of this like rubber band effect that every time you try to release it, it comes back. It's like, okay, I need extra assistance. Kind of like the story I told about the BV. What I used to heal that was the cleansing I got, but also I used essential oils to rub on my womb and set intention over my womb and pray over my womb. But essential oils are a big helper. in aiding as well, or like sense and intentional visualizations of your own chakras being healed is great too. Meditation that focuses on the chakras. So like wherever in the body that you are feeling is having trouble, or even if you're having a lot of cramps, or even like pelvic pain, bad periods, stuff like that, are also symptoms of possible chakra dustiness, we'll say. Chest pains, as well as just feeling like shortness of breath. These are all things that can all just be a part of you just needing to release. Now, how to unblock them? Again, with the intentional visualizations of chakras being healed. You could do guided meditations. I love guided meditations on YouTube. Getting a healing done by a professional healer, like myself. Energetic practices like meditations and focusing on the chakras like we were talking about. Essential oils. You can even look up what each chakra, what's medicine for each chakra. So for some of you who have crystals or are into crystals, crystals are also something that are really great for just aiding in being a medicine type, a medicine for your chakras or your energy. So for example, chakras, they only respond to energy. A chakra is not going to respond to medication. You know what I'm saying? So, you need to respond to energy with energy. And so like energetic practices, that's why we're talking about meditations and even like yoga, prayer, intention work, writing, anything that is releasing energy or just is intentional in helping you to release those suppressed emotions. Now, crystals again, so like different chakras, they have a certain color to them, which in turn, the colors are also, I guess you could call energy. So like different crystals aid in the different chakras and help different chakras. So looking into that is also beneficial. Another thing is diet. So I'll give another example. For the sacral chakra, if I'm ever having trouble with my sacral, which is again the womb, I will eat orange foods or drink orange juice and just like orangey, citrusy type foods and drinks. Now, when it comes to chakras responding to energy and releasing the deep-rooted trauma that's in your energy centers, that's stored there as we're suppressing it over time, you release the trauma and all that comes with it in layers. So I'm sure all of you can relate to the fact that you've had to release things over time. You've had to heal the same things in pieces, in layers. You've been like, I thought I was over this, but then it comes back up again because it is too much for us to release things we've been through, especially things that really truly affected us in a big way in all at once, right? So it takes time and it takes it releasing itself in layers. So these repressed emotions and our trauma reveals itself as physical manifestations and emotions like we talked about. And so now going into the practices that have really assisted me in giving my emotions space to live and space to feel themselves and for me to feel them. We release them by holding space for them and breathing into them, allowing them to show up as they please until they dissipate in the moment. So I don't know if some of you probably have experienced having moments of random emotions occurring, coming up for you. You're like, I don't know why I feel this way. And so that's when you will dive into somatic breathing. So if you don't know what somatic breathing is, it is a breathing exercise and technique in order to sit with your emotions so that you can process it instead of suppressing it. Because if you suppress it, it's going to come back up later and stronger. So just deal with it in the moment, as hard as it is. Even if you're in public, like I truly, even if I'm in public, if I'm at work, I don't care. If I feel something, I'm sitting with it, focusing on my breathing, allowing it to show up in whatever part of the body it is. I recognize and am aware of what part of my body this emotion is showing up in. I'm breathing into it, allowing it to speak to me, allowing it to tell me what it's telling me, to make me aware of why it's there. If it does, sometimes it doesn't, but most of the time it makes me aware of why this emotion is present. And then it just, as you keep breathing into it and allowing it to be what it is, it eventually dissipates. It eventually goes away. And then you feel better. But if we suppress it, you'll notice that it lingers, or it comes off as like a bad day. When if we just give our emotions the time to breathe and the time to be, then they will just dissipate themselves. So also something that is great for dealing with tough emotions, especially when it has to do with somebody you're around. So this is for the people who resonate with being an empath or more empathic. You tend to pick up on a lot of outside energies. So something that really works is visualizing yourself whenever you know you're going to be around an energy that's a bit penetrating or a bit strong, or you're going to be talking to a friend that is going to be telling you stuff that's going on that's hard to hear. If you don't know that this is going to happen and it just happens, then take a moment to just envision yourself pushing away what the stuff you don't want to take in is. Imagine yourself pushing it away and looking at it as outside of you. You're observing it. The moment that someone, say, is yelling at you, and the moment you start feeling anger, you have soaked up their emotion. You have soaked up their energy. But if someone's yelling at you and you look at it, observe it, remind yourself that that is outside of you and you don't have to soak that up, you remain centered and it doesn't ruin your day. Same thing with a friend that may be going through a lot and they're about to vent to you, or they are venting to you without realizing it. Empathic people tend to take responsibility and want to help, want to do something, want to fix it. So in order to not do that, again, envisioning yourself pushing out what is not yours, reminding yourself that this is their stuff, this is their life, and I am not responsible. Everybody has their own responsibility for their emotions, for their reactions, and for the consequences of our reactions. So this is a big thing when it comes to emotions too, because some of us are a lot more emotional than others. And some of us do get emotionally charged a lot easier. So learning how to sit with them and recognize that you are the only one who can do anything about it by allowing it and giving it space and doing what you got to do so that you don't react in a way you'll regret is so important. And that's what this episode is about. And also recognizing that people don't usually, I think of or realize how much they could be affecting you by doing certain things. They aren't thinking about how sensitive you are as a person if they know you. Sometimes like they just are focused on getting out what they need to get out. And people don't know your triggers a lot of the time. You know, people don't fully understand what's going to set you off. So that just goes to show that it's actually your responsibility to recognize when something's triggering you and why. And kind of taking a second, even telling somebody like, I need a minute. I'm sorry, that triggered me. I just need a second, you know, so that you can process it on your own, because the person can't process it for you. They probably won't even understand a lot of the time. So just having the skills to be able to take a moment to allow the emotion to come up rather than, again, pushing it down, acting like nothing's wrong, but processing it and coming back to a resolution after the fact of what exactly that was so that you can act accordingly is the best course of action typically, and does show a lot of emotional maturity. Those were my examples about, the emotional dumper as well. So some of you might have experienced at times friends or people around you who just tend to emotionally dump on you because you are a sensitive being and they know that you care. So people take advantage of that without even realizing it sometimes, or maybe they do. But regardless of that, setting strong boundaries is such a big thing when it comes to emotional health, because if you are not in a space to be vented to, speaking up about that, and emotionally aware or self-aware people and friends and family around you typically will ask you if you're in a good space, or you can even tell people to ask you if you are the type of person who is just so sensitive to that. Just setting those boundaries and telling people like, look, next time, can you just ask me if I'm in a good space to hear you? Just so I make sure that I'm good and I'm able to be a good listener for you. Turning it around so that it's like, I care about you, but sometimes I got to put myself first, That's also something that I've learned is really important, is those boundaries with people, because most of the time the things that drain us the most are other people. So that is also something that's super important with emotional health. Something that is so beneficial is meditation. And I feel starting your day with meditation and ending your day, as well as taking moments throughout the day to become present and in your breath and just, I'm here, I'm present. There's nothing that's, affecting me, taking me out of my center. Like, I'm here, I'm in control of me right now. Like, reminding yourself of that really is also a key to emotional health. And it's just reminding yourself you're present, because imagine, which a lot of us do, it's like we're thinking about the future so much, or what all the things we got to do, that like something comes up that's not in the plans and brings out a reaction of like, that's not a part of my plan today. Like, I didn't want to deal with that today. So it brings up anger and frustration. But like, if we're remaining present and we're, taking little moments, even if it's less than a minute in the middle of the day, just to like remind ourselves, like, I'm centered, I'm here, like take a deep breath or 3 deep breaths. Like, even if we do that throughout the day, like, we will be a lot more grounded and we'll be able to pause and know exactly what to do for ourselves in the moment when we are triggered, or when emotions come up that we aren't sure where they're coming from. Or if we do know where they're coming from, it's like we're able to act accordingly. Pause, know that this is me. So how do I process it and release it? Even if it's the emotion coming up is not you and you did absorb, it's still about breathing into it and allowing it to release itself. And then saying and setting the boundary of, I will not take on anything that is not my own. I set that intention every time I leave my house, is I will not take on anything that is not my own. Anytime I do a reading, anytime I do a healing, I always am setting energetic boundaries that I will not take on anything that is not mine. And I release everything that is not mine after a session. So it's really, honestly, the tools are they seem simple, but it's just the practice of them so that you don't forget them, so that they actually work for you and that you can keep, using them and know what to do in the moment. It's kind of like something that's added to your tool belt and your skill set once you get to the point of just actively doing it. But I hope this was helpful. And please let me know your feedback. Let me know how you benefited from this episode and what you took from it the most, that stuck out to you the most, and what you're going to be doing moving forward in order to maintain your emotional health and set emotional boundaries. So thank you so much for tuning in. I am so beyond grateful. Thank you for holding space for me and for listening. I am, again, grateful. So I hope you all enjoy your day, and I will see you guys next time.